Hello, Eva, and welcome back to our AVVA Talks series. Thank you for coming back again and taking your time to have a talk with us.
It's a great pleasure to be back, and I really look forward to a really interesting conversation.
You know, last time we discussed a little bit about how we feel and how we connect to our emotions. And as a natural next step on our journey to return home, as we discussed about how we feel our own feelings and how we think introspectively about our feelings and how we connect with those feelings. A step forward in our discussion would be how we interact and how we feel while interacting with others on the social scene. And especially during this time when almost everything about how people socially interact is changing, I was wondering, how do you feel these changes are manifesting these days? And what effect do they have on people?
Yeah. Well, the first sentence that comes to my mind, Martin Buber has said that the I, he made the reference of the I and the thou. So the I, in my interpretation, the I is ripened through the you, meaning we're not separate entities. When I want to discover who I am, it's everything that I learned through being seen and through being communicated with of significant other people, meaning my caretakers, my parents, grandparents. Then I had a nanny that was partially living with us. So everything in my growing up, and then there come teachers, then there come society. So everybody significantly in my growing up is shaping and organizing and ripening to who I become. And then there's also, in the work that I represent, and Virginia Satir's beliefs, the idea that we all embodied life force. So there's also a larger space of something that's just universal energy, and me coming with my own Eva uniqueness. So there's a core that is unseen, that I will always have, I will bring, and that is not a negotiation. That's always part of me. And then the connection as me embodied while I'm on physical earth, that is my body shaped by universal energies. But most of it, as who we know each other, is ripened by the meeting point of other people seeing us a certain way and transmitting messages. You know, what do you do in this family? What do you talk about? What are the likes? What are the dislikes? And so all of that is carving us out. So we are in the base social conversational creatures. To take that as a basic idea. Now we are challenged. I mean, we talked in the first episode about social physical distancing. So now I'm invited to retreat to my own physical home. So the hindrance is pretty high up to actually socially engage with other people of my desire, of my preference. Depending on where you live, I'm not as freely able to see the people I want to see. So it gives me almost like this hindrance. Do you really want to see this person? Why is it so important to see this person? And what are the...
Also to be seen, as you said earlier, with this social connection and how people project to us different things, to also be able to be seen by others.
Absolutely, yeah. It is. I am.
Like a reference
point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am seen. I see the other. It's an inter-exchange. I see you, you see me, and hopefully that is also connected with positivity, with it's nice to see you, I like to see you, I like what I see, so that we help each other to connect and grow. But knowing the restrictions and the limits, I really have to make a full effort on who do I meet and where do I meet these people and what are the conditions. And on one level, the technical possibilities are helping us, of course. You're in your time zone, I'm in my time zone, where on our spaces, we negotiate when is a good time for you that we can actually see each other and meet each other. Which to me, when I'm teaching relationship workshops, is one of the guidelines, one of the frames I will actually teach in my relationship workshops. When I'm doing appreciation dialogues, one of the ingredients is actually where I'm saying, please, let's say you have something important you want to share with somebody else, and that may be an appreciation. The first step is ask the other person, I have an appreciation or I have something important that I like to share with you. Is now a good time for you? And that is a nice element to create a meeting point, to honor you may have a different timing than me. Here with Zoom, we have to do it. I can't just go online and anticipate you're there because I don't know. So we kind of have to talk to each other. Is now a good time for you? Or when is a good time for you? And then the negotiated time will give us the space to then say now, and then we start the conversation. So some of the limits actually to me also are pointing out what are positive frameworks, what are positive guidelines that help actually to carve out a positive directional relationship space and the right communication. But the other side to the coin is also, I'm not as spontaneous. I can't spontaneously say, oh, I have one of those bad hair days. I wish I could just travel spontaneously to one of my dear friends that just know exactly about that. And we just can hang out. So the spontaneous factor that has its own creative magic is not available. And that is, that holds a lot of grief. My friend Virginia Bunnemeyer, who is a therapist, was just educating via Zoom a class and going through the grief cycle, where we're going through all these different stages. So especially us being socially shaped, socially active creatures, we go through a lot of grief these days. We go through the full-on grief cycle when we are confronted with the fact that it's not as easy to physically see people we care about, love, and need to interact. And one of the elements to me is to hug each other, to touch each other, to connect physically with each other. So we're coming also to the other podcast where we're talking about the body. So the body plays a big role for me for qualities of social interactions that are transmitting non-verbally. I love you, I care for you, it's nice to touch and connect with you. And that's not possible unless you're living with your loved ones. But then there are also more that you want to transmit the same language.
Yeah, as we are social beings, and interacting with one another is really, as you a lot of times say, essential for survival. And not just, there are studies that show that not on purely physical and emotional level, but also as humans, as what makes us humans, as one cannot live separated from society and from other people. And this online interactions are a way of getting base, of touching base and getting in touch with other people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it brings a lot of challenges, and you stress this anger and this amplified need for physical contact. And if we come back to our own emotions and how these emotions need to be not just acknowledged by us, but also shared with others. How different do you think it is to cope with this during this time, when our emotions and feelings need to be also validated by the people we interact with in this online environment?
Yeah. I think as every challenge always brings up a positive and a negative side. I never look at it from just disadvantages. I think there's always both sides that we can hold. I mean, I heard from clients actually say being kind of protected by a screen and having in group settings, for example, like, certain group settings are still happening. So there may be help groups that are happening online now. For some, it's easier sometimes to take a break by, pushing the button and closing the video for a moment so that you can withdraw and have your privacy. And I heard some clients saying, this helps me to show up a little bit more because I can, show up for some time. It's behind a screen. It helps me to feel a little bit safer. And I find some advantages. So depending on how you're feeling about maybe group settings and being really seen and visible, three-dimensional, and being in that whole space, for some, this may give an opportunity to present more because they feel a little safer. For somebody like me, I'm noticing in me that I have to pick very carefully which kind of trainings or group facilitations I am facilitating myself and on the other side participating in, because the too much of a length of the screen time is paying a price for me. I feel physically drained at some point. I feel energetically not completely well. I feel the waves that are created by looking at a screen is compromising some of my well-being. And for me, preferable, I am with a person in a room directly. Mm-hmm. So it compromises very much my needs for directness, for the energetic exchange, for the resonance that I feel when I'm kind of have the sense, oh, we're on the same page, there's a wavelength. There's a certain degree where that surprisingly is also possible in this space where you have a screen between each other divided, yet there's a different human quality that is available when I'm sitting face to face, body to body, with somebody in the room. And I can give you a clear example. I'm living at home alone. My ex-husband, who's one of my dearest friends, I like to call him my Lieblingsmensch, my favorite person, one of my favorite persons. And we have, that we had ongoing exchanges. But yesterday he came in the agreed limitations. He came to visit, and with a distancing that's appropriate, we went for a walk. And that is a whole other experience than FaceTiming or, having a phone conversation with him. I could feel how my nervous system was settling down, was calming down, because the physical body of him and us having a positive relationship, having a very positive connection, was helping my nervous system to settle, to calm. And it was quite amped up from the day before because it was facilitating a lot of meetings behind the screen. And it did have a negative impact on my body. And I could feel just him being there. All of a sudden, something changed. And to me, that's a pretty practical proof.
Yeah, indeed. And it's I think even more challenging now when we meet other people, because we need to always keep in mind about keeping this proper distance.
Yeah.
And so first it was the physical boundary, like we were just meeting online, and then when we actually get to meet someone in person, we need to set up a boundary that was not needed before.
Yeah.
In order to establish another interaction, another kind of physical interaction. So we are in the same space, but all very at a respectful distance, like, I don't know, 2 meters or something.
Yeah.
So we need to also integrate this kind of interaction in our daily habits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this, how do you think this affects our interactions?
You know, we talked before we started recording, we talked about when you go to the grocery now, everybody has to wear a mask in many places. And I realized for myself, me wearing a mask for protection has an impact on how I relate to myself, how I feel about myself with this cover. And it has definitely a limiting. I noticed how my body started to contract this way. Same thing true for me as I was going to the supermarket. The tendency for people who are wearing masks to withdraw even more and to amplify a sense of separation was pretty noticeable. And I'm somebody who's kind of like with the eyes, then kind of like, you know, twinkle in the eye, kind of looking out for people, nodding and giving little signals in the hopes that even though with the limitations, we can start to still signal, I'm a human behind this mask, you're too, and I'm open for connection. And this is now an energetic connection, because I don't want to add negative energetic connection when we're creating these distances. I think it's really has to become a conscious act to energetically radiate out, connect out positivity that says, I'm a human being, you're a human being. We want to safely do anything that's needed and that's asked, but keep in mind, we need social interactions that is seeing each other still. And interesting enough, when you look at the mask, the only thing that's still open and free is I see you and you see me. So I've been in the supermarket kind of almost holding the mantra when I passed somebody, and there's a kind of a mutual agreement to, in my own mind, kind of say, I see you. And when somebody looked back at me, kind of like, oh, thank you for seeing me, you know, kind of holding this little exchange. And that really felt like a blessing that that's available, because there's so minimalized possibilities. The other thing is, I'm always trying to hold paradoxical truth. So it's not only that or only that. I'm always trying to, what is the learning from these restrictions as well? I see also when I take proper distance as a way of proper, I like the word proper. So if I think of, in a social engagement, if I keep a proper distancing, the positive side to this is we create a boundary where I can learn where are you right now in your own experience, and tell me about that. And where am I? And are you curious to learn about me where I am right now, so that we're not making pre-assumptions. I know what you experience, and you know what I'm experiencing. And I think that happens in very close, intimate relationships very quickly. You know, I'm having a certain look on my face, and maybe my husband or my parents or whoever knows me really, really well may go, right, I know what that look means. You're thinking about such and such. And we're so many times under the name of love, or under the name of closeness, under the label of understanding, crossing each other's boundaries, and stopping us from being curious. Like, hey, I'm noticing you have this look on your face. What is on your mind? Tell me a little bit more about it, because I would like to know what's happening for you. Rather than, I know exactly what that means. Rather than reacting to it right away. And I thought, interesting. Now that we're distancing, we could also kind of take this as a self-assessment, if you wish, to be a little bit more careful, to be more curious, to be more open-minded, to be more questioning. What does that look mean? What is happening for you? And are you curious about what's going on for me? I give you one personal example. I was, as I said, I was with my ex-husband, and I said, you know, in the challenges that we're experiencing today, and we're kind of confronted with uncertainty. You never know what's going to happen next. Nothing that I thought to be true or to be in control is the same. Everything changes quickly. And I said, I really want for my personal self to make an attempt to, if I have any open chapters with any significant, important relationships, I really want to make sure that everything is transparent and on the table. So I asked him, I like to know if there's anything that we may have an open business about, and that we could talk about. Any hurts that needs to be repaired, any celebrations that we haven't shared yet, but anything that may feel like an open loop. Because given that we experience so many challenges right now, I take in consideration we may quickly never see each other again. You never know what's going to happen next. And he's like, well, don't say that. I mean, I said, no, I'm not seeing myself as anybody of a risk group, but I just take this whole setting as an invitation to reflect my own personal relationships. And you're one of the core people that I adore, I love, and I will always love my whole life. And we're going through a massive transition point. And I really sincerely would like to meet you, that we can open, curious, exchange what we want and need to exchange. And so then we had a really moment, and we were looking at each other's eyes, and I think we both took a pause. And then he said, I was looking forward to meet you. I have a really warm heart when I think about us connecting, and life happened. And there are many things that were happening along the road, and I have nothing to clear up. And if it comes to my mind, I feel free and open to talk with you about it. And that was such a profound, heart-opening, connecting moment. And that felt like we're embracing each other, on the deepest energetic level. So we're making use, in a way, of the distancing as a way of opening to even deeper quality, high quality communication that will nurture the relationship for the better. And so I see that potential as well.
Yeah, so we can use this situation as a context for being more aware of the in-between space
Yes.
in relationships, and not just bumping into the other person or overwhelming that person with our own ego and our own identity, and just assuming that the person is in a certain way, but keeping this distance and the proper awareness, as you say, about ourselves and about the space, maybe facilitates us to better connect. Although it's paradoxical, as you said, it's a distance that actually can bring us more together, more close.
Yeah. So we're very well stated, Alina, as you were saying that, I'm just realizing, as human beings, we're usually trained, I need certain safety. It's either way, that or it's that. If it's not that, then it got to be that. So we have these ideas that things have to be one way, a certain way. And we're not very well educated in holding paradoxical truths because we think that's impossible. And in this uncertain times where everything is forever changing and nothing that I thought to be true, to be safe at one place is safe. Control is a concept. I'm not in control of anything. Anything that I thought to be in my control is now different. And it comes for me to the conclusion that we need to learn, we can learn, and the challenge is to hold paradoxical truth where that actually leads to a deepening of our social high quality interaction. So if we want to breathe new fresh air into the we connection, which is my expertise, my way where I'm working. My client is not in the couple. My client is the we space. Now I'm when I'm working with a system, then I have these people that are representatives in the house, but what I'm mostly curious is how do they create a we? And how are they impacting each other as they do this we? And how can we renegotiate that we space? So for me, we need to find relationship capacities where every player has its voice, has its value, has its insightfulness, has its appropriate needs, and then find ways in the appropriate distancing. So I'm not overriding you and overpower you so that if you share the same opinion with me, then we're good buddies. But if you have a different opinion, then get the hell out of here. I'm not interested in you anymore. And that's a high quality skill, but it's also very mature and an adult skill. I need to be very grown up. I need to be very self-connecting and very much okay and high self-esteem in myself in order to hold the possibility that my opinion may be a different opinion than yours. We still can be friends and we can still feel a sense of closeness that is hopefully nurtured by curiosity of, wow, tell me how you think this way, because I would like to understand that a little bit better. And maybe I learn more about your religion, your culture, your spirituality, your family, your growing up, your experiences, and all the rest of it, because I have a different one. And then you may be curious by saying, oh, I want to learn about your culture and your religion or not religion and spirituality and family and growing up and experiences. And then we have a bigger space that is then informing the two of us.
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful how you put it, and how this creating more space allows for development of things that could otherwise never show up in interaction with another person, because maybe too many times we think we already know beforehand about us, about the other person, and we create scenarios of behavior and of expectations. And now we are in a way forced to keep up a space that allows for other things, unexpected things, to show up in ourselves and in the other person. And this, I think it's a lot of times challenging, because our expectations somehow are ran by autopilot mode.
Yeah.
And dealing with the challenges forces us to gain more awareness about ourselves, and even to acknowledge those uncomfortable feelings that may show up.
Yeah.
But as we said at the beginning, this is a challenge in itself, keeping the proper distance, and at the same time can be an opportunity that we didn't previously have to build bridges towards other people. So
yeah, I think what I want to invite to all of this conversation is the creativity of taking everything as a metaphor. So I'm trying to really apply everything that's happening right now as an analogy, or as a symbol, or as a metaphor. So if we have this directness of physical distancing, or what they call social distancing, how can I translate that into my profession when I think about relationship ingredients that are helpful or not helpful? And that gives me, to my direct experiencing that's challenging at different times, an additional meaning making, an additional idea about thinking about the same experience on a different level. And usually what's creating a stuckness or an overwhelm, or I'm feeling frustrated and I feel like I can't really move, is that we're stuck in one frame, that we have this, okay, here I'm limited, there's nothing I can do about it, game over. But as soon as I can create multiple relationships, multiple descriptions to the same phenomenon, and look from them from different perspectives, then that creates an opening, and that creates flexibility. And as soon as we introduce curiosity and flexibility, the same phenomenon can be seen as a chance towards the future, or it can be seen as an indefinite problem that I need to eliminate as soon as possible. So basically what I will then do is I'm just waiting until it's over. But in my understanding, we're not waiting the clock to time out until this is over and we go back to the normal. There will be no old normal. We will have to, it's life that's happening right now with restrictions on many levels that is challenging a lot of the essential ingredients that are really potent and important to us as human beings. But it also asks us to creatively look at different things, and how do we want to design a human beingness, a human interaction, a human relatedness into the future. And the dream, the future I have is, Virginia Satir has one of the beliefs, which is saying, in sameness we connect, in differences we grow. And I hope that we can hold both truths that are seemingly opposite at the same time. So I begin to connect by saying, you're a woman, I'm a woman. So there's something that connects us in a sameness. You're Cancer by sign, I'm a Cancer by sign. Okay, great. So that connects us by sameness. Maybe we like the same ice cream. Maybe we're, enjoying certain things that are the same. The more we buy into the same, there is one danger that may potentially say, you're me and I'm you, and it's all the same. So I'm stopping myself from being curious. I go prematurely to a spiritual level where I would definitely agree, I'm you and you're me. But that's a different level. On a human interactional level, to me, growth, wisdom really comes in when I say, okay, you like the same ice cream, we enjoy similar, maybe similar places, we do enjoy similar education, and now I'm really curious about Alina, who I don't know. So tell me something that may be very different to me, and I can enjoy and celebrate that. So that we're differentiating each other by saying, you're a little bit different than me. You're not totally the same as me. And on one level, you may be very, very different to me. And that's awesome. I don't make you wrong by that.
And that can only happen in a space which is created for that.
And which is big enough. Maybe the 3 feet or whatever the recommend is. I have this, created in my relationship workshops, kind of like a relationship dance, a relationship mantra, where I have people really go far, 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 far away from each other, where I say, I am me and you are you. We're not the same, we're different. And just have people experience that as one truth. Then I invite both of them to take a step more into towards the middle, and then say, but I'm something like you. Honoring the idea that we're a little bit alike on different levels. And then I have them exchange that. And then I let them go one step more into the middle to say, I'm nothing but you. So on that human, universal, experiential level, we're exchanging, we're sharing the same. I have the same longings as you. Love, connection, being seen. And then we mark that truth. And then at the last piece, the very, very last piece, one more step. And then people are very close to each other, like nose to nose. Then we look at each other with a very gentle moment where you say, on one level, I am you. And you are me. We're in that one space together. And then I allow the same thing to happen the opposite way. So I'm nothing but you. Take a step away. Something like you, take a step away. I'm not you. You're you fully, and I'm myself fully. And that's great to know. Then I have them celebrate that truth, to then take a step in the middle to say, now we can begin to meet and greet and get to know each other. So educate me who you are, and I can educate you the same way. And that to me is an appropriate, differentiated, mature distance that allows differences to be seen in their own right and not to have to make them wrong. And to me, that is a way of appropriate, distant relating. I think Simon, one of the therapists, would call that the individualization and connectedness at the same time. Individualized connectedness. So I'm fully me, you're fully you. At the same time, we feel this weaving of energetic exchange and connectedness. And that is a piece of art that we need to learn, because I don't think
aware of the similar things and of the differentiating things that are in the relationship, and in each individual as a person.
Totally. And in my workshops in relationships, I mean, there are a lot of people who are highly trained, some of them great therapists, some of them, many, many different educations. But in our growing up, a lot of us have not learned the full range of relationship qualities, of relationship skills that are needed in artistic. And to me, this time may be a potential invitation to learn that more fully new. And I see that as a possibilities.
Yeah, especially as we don't have a specific time regarding how long this situation will last. So we are in a way forced to act on the spot in the now. So now it's the time. So you cannot make projections for next week or 2 weeks or 1 month, 2 months. We are required to act now as if now is the only time there is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's something that the spiritual teachers keep preaching for thousands of years.
Yeah. It's now.
Somehow the context is created in such a way to experience exactly that, if we are open to it.
Yeah, totally. And it's now. And if you experience discomfort, if you feel a lot of emotion, like maybe anger or frustration, and they're intense, that just lets us know this is happening right now. You know, I think it's definitely an invitation, and also to be with whatever is there right now and not trying to push it away. If you feel you're struggling, get support in. There are great therapists and coaches that are helping us to move successfully through emotion that we may have learned to suppress in our growing up. They will come up. They will present itself now. And then find ways to reassess how are we relating in the most human, supportive, and helpful and kind-hearted way, that we're creating a future that is desirable with the now that we're practicing. And so it's always good to have a dream as well towards where do you want to head to in the future, however that's going to be looking like.
Hopefully we can use this time to train into better connect with ourselves and our emotions, and also how we want to interact with the other people after this period is past time. So we can now make choices for ourselves, aware choices, not continue to go on pilot mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eva, thank you for the beautiful discussion we had today. As always, very insightful, and with a lot of things that have touched important things in relationships and in oneself, in myself. I can be a living proof of that.
Yeah.
And thank you very, very much, and looking forward to see you next time.
Yeah, thank you, Alina, for doing this, for relating, and for just being your beautiful self. I always enjoy it. And thanks for everybody who's interested in listening.